Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here on a Piney podcast. A few quick things. We've got Webcomic Factory back up and running. Check out Pandemonium, fantasy adventure from Thursday, new installment, and of course Tales of Pizza. That's at the webcomicfactory.com. Now let's get into some other South Jersey stuff. First, 12 new deaths, 384 new cases. Transmission rate dropped to 1.15. Everything's dropping, as always. Murphy says 45% of people called by New Jersey beer virus contact tracers are not complying. Duh! No kidding. No kidding. You're the worst. You're so stupid. Does that even count, the number of people who don't even answer the phone when they don't recognize the number, you idiot? Of course they're not complying. They don't want to give out their personal information, not to a bunch of incompetents like state bureaucrats when they don't have to. And we all know what's coming. It'll be mandatory. They'll fine you. And that'll just make the bureaucracy worse. Because it's not important that Governor Murphy understand the virus or even help knock it back. It's only important that his programs move forward to help his political fortunes. The contact tracers was idiotic. We don't even have the money for it. He's borrowing $10 billion. Where do you get the money to pay people to sit on the phone all day and talk to people and ask them about where they've been and who they've been in contact with? It's idiotic. We have to vote these people out. But guess what? You may not be able to, because vote by mail is being touted in a lot of South Jersey towns. And don't fall for it. Do not vote by mail. Do not vote for anybody who would push vote by mail. Go to the voting booth. There is no way to guarantee your vote through the mail. You cannot trust the mail. I don't know how many stories we've heard over the years of mailmen just stealing the mail, throwing it down the sewer, not delivering it. Sometimes I don't get mail for days. I used to get mail every single day. Depends on my mailman. Depends on the mail. Now, granted, these days there's not that much mail. Okay. But it's suspicious. It suddenly picks up and I get a bunch of mail. Sometimes I get my neighbor's mail. The post office isn't reliable enough for mail-in ballots. I'm not an anti-post office guy. I use the post office all the time. For my bills, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. If I miss a bill, you can work it out. You can say, I got lost in the mail. They're usually pretty understanding about that one time. But this idea you're going to put votes, there's too much on the line. There always is. I'm not talking just about this election. I'm talking about every election. And there's too much corruption. It's too easy to game the system with a mail-in ballot. Now, granted, some people are forced to mail in. Sure, if you're sick, you're out of the country, you're a veteran, still serving overseas or whatever. Yeah, some people actually need ballots. Trump needed a ballot because his residence is legally in Florida. So how else is he supposed to fly all the way to Florida just to vote? It's a little excessive. You have to do in-person voting. Look, they'll social distance. People will wear masks. It'll be fine. Look, you're already going out anyway. You could certainly go out to vote. You're off from work anyway. Some of you still are. I don't know why. Forget mail. Forget mail-in votes. You should write your local mayor, congressman, state senator, whatever. Write them. Say no mail-in ballots. Don't do it. Patterson was a disaster. New York has another problem. Arizona. There's all these places that have problems with mail-in ballots. Do not listen to the people saying that there are no problems. There are absolutely problems with the mail. They did a test. They lost all the mail-in ballots, all of them. Then when they finally figured out where they were, they still couldn't find 3% of them. The vote was razor thin in 2016. 3% would be enough. Stealing 3% of the votes would be more than enough to put the election one way or another. We cannot have the post office, the unreliable post office. You have to admit it's unreliable. You've gotten packages all banged up. You've got mail that's been open. You've been missing mail. You've been missing magazine subscriptions. If you're old enough to remember magazines. Do not use the mail. Come on, South Jersey. You're smarter than that. What's the other thing? I closed the link because I had to do 2 takes of this. There's a story coming out of Cumberland County about a kid. He's 18. Not a kid, technically, but he's in the National Guard, and he was in a feud with his neighbor. His neighbor is a 51-year-old guy, and he had a family, and they feuded back and forth because apparently the kid was doing TikTok videos, and part of his shtick was bothering his neighbor. And part of the way he bothered him was driving around in his car really fast and making a lot of noise with his car. Well, they escalated up and up and up, and finally there was a confrontation, and the kid stabbed the guy to death, allegedly. And now the family's saying it was because he wanted to be a TikTok star. I don't know how that translates into becoming a TikTok star. I mean, I'm sure it was a factor in their feud. I'm sure he was, he saw an opportunity to increase his base. He was up to 3 million views in one of his videos. I mean, that's a crazy amount of views. So I don't think you make money with TikTok. I have a friend on it. He says he's not making money, but he's just doing it for fun. Anyhow, it's a tragedy, and you can't get caught up in this stuff. I mean, I like doing these videos, but it's not everything. It's fun, but I'm not going to do illegal things just to or immoral things just for a bump. It's not worth it. Fame is fleeting, Pineys, very fleeting. And the only other news is the fallout from the storms. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's storming out now. Looks like it's going to rain for a few days. Probably not as bad as the storm, the actual storm. But if you're still cleaning up and your tree branches are kind of weak, I had part of my fence collapse. And I've had some pretty decent-sized branches fall still, despite all the branches and trees I've had taken out of my yard. So be careful out there. It's a little rumbly. That's it for the Piney Podcast. We'll see you in the next video. Right, Joan? Yeah, she's asleep.